Monica Palmer, you are a canvasser here in Detroit and Wayne County for the 2020 election. You were one of the canvassers to originally vote no, and then you voted yes, kind of, and then withdrew your vote. What happened as far as the canvass here in Wayne County?
Thanks for having me, Christina. It was a lot of fun in November 2020. It was interesting because prior to that, nobody ever paid attention to what happened at a canvas. Most people didn't even know it existed. So we had the election, started the canvas. We have 14 days from the day of the election to correct the returns between the poll book statement of voters and the tabulator tape that comes out of the machine. If there's a difference, we have to figure out what it is and make a mathematical correction. So Wayne County is a pretty large county. The Board of Canvassers has staff that help us process that. We made it through most of outside of Detroit and Wayne County pretty quickly, got into Detroit. Day of precincts were good, but the absentee counting boards, we had a lot of discrepancies between the number of absentee ballots that were checked off on the poll book and the tape on the machine.
So had you completed the canvas, or had you completed trying to reconcile the absentee ballots by the time they wanted you to vote?
No is the short answer. I had been asking staff all along, 3-4 days out, are we going to get done in time? Are we going to get done in time? Are we going to get done in time? And it was we're not sure. And the day before the vote, the city of Detroit brought a large container of brand new revised poll books to us. So all those numbers we were trying to reconcile to changed.
How is that even possible?
That's a great question. I posed that to the State Board of Canvassers. They asked Daniel Baxter, who's the consultant that was helping with the Detroit election, and he said that he did not provide revised poll books.
But they did provide revised.
They did, yeah.
Can you give us an example of what didn't reconcile? Like, what were the discrepancies in the poll books?
So if a poll book said we had 400 voters and the tape said that we had 415 votes counted. Okay.
Was that a frequent mistake?
It goes both directions.
Okay.
And sometimes it makes sense, more so in a day of precinct. So if I walk in to vote, they write down my name, my voter ID, and the ballot ID. So you've issued ballot 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through 400. Well, if I mess up my ballot and I need to spoil it, they're going to issue me a new ballot. So there will be 401 ballots because I had one that I spoiled and one that I used. But we're only counting one. So you have 400 counted, but 401 issued.
Okay.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
There's notes in the poll book when that happens. You write down, Monica spoiled her ballot. Here's ballot ID that we scratched and ballot ID that she used. When you vote in the machine, you tear the number off so it's anonymous when it goes in there. And that's fine. That's good when we're doing the canvas because you see the notes. What happens in Detroit, there's no notes in the poll book.
Did you ever get to a point where it matched or was close to reconciling?
No.
So
we sit down for the meeting. The meeting was delayed for 2 hours. And I don't know if that's because the Democrat, Jonathan Kinlock, brought in a stack of Democrat affidavits and had the county clerk staff make paper copies of those for all 4 of us.
Wow.
Or if they were still reconciling the paperwork. I still don't know, but there was a 2-hour delay. We sat down and I asked Director of Elections for the county, Greg Marr, I said, Greg, do you have a report for us? Can I see per precinct the pluses and minuses and which ones matched and which ones don't? He says, no, I don't have that for you. I will give it to you verbally.
So why did you vote no ultimately?
So I voted no ultimately because I believe our job as the canvas was not done. We did not make all of the corrections that could have been made. It literally was asking, that no vote was asking for 10 more days for the State Board of Canvassers to have the additional time to look through those revised poll books and say, yes, this one was off by 38 and it's now off by 2.
And what caused you to flip your vote and then say, yes, go ahead and certify?
So after 2 hours of, I don't even know the word for it, public comment, and it's kind
That's very mild.
It's kind of a kick in the teeth right now with what the DOJ is saying for parents at school boards, right? I sat through that vitriol, and now as a mom, they don't want me to tell the school not to teach my kid that she's a racist, right? Like, it's such a double standard, it's not even funny. So we go through awful public commentary. One thing I noticed that was going on during that, I was actually watching the laptop, like actually trying to listen to people, because I felt, man, they're really upset about this vote. As a public official, I should listen to them. Bill Hartman is not the best with technology, but he was attempting to listen as well. The two Democrats were on their phone the entire time laughing. It almost felt like they were texting their friends to get on and rip me a new one. So after a while, the Democrat Vice Chair, Jonathan Kinlock, he pulled me aside. He says, Monica, can we go in the back and talk? And he told me that he'd been on the phone all night, from local level up to state level, and that he had a guarantee that we could get an audit. He's, what is it going to take to certify this election? I was like, we need to correct the balances.
Right.
And he said that he had a promise, and I said, from who? And he said, from Governor Whitmer. And I said, no offense, I don't trust her as far as I can throw her.
Right.
And with tears in his eyes and swearing on his mother's life, he promised me that he had it set up, we could get it done. And I said, I want all of Wayne County, not just Detroit, the unbalanced, unexplained, right? Because the unbalanced, we talked about, if you spoil a ballot, it's fine. We need the unexplained ones. And he said, fine. And so we came back out, went into recess. He spoke with Hartman individually and his counterpart, Wilson, individually. So we weren't breaking Open Meetings Act. And everybody was in agreement that audit of the unbalanced, unexplained would get us the answers to correct those numbers, which is the purpose of the canvas.
Okay.
So we sat down for a second motion. Hindsight's 2020. If we were running by Robert's Rules of Order, if I had a parliamentarian there to help me out, we'd have realized that you need a motion to reconsider before you can even have that vote. But we didn't catch it beforehand, so it couldn't be stopped. We sat down for the yes vote, and shortly after that, State of Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson issued a press release saying, I don't have to do that. They don't have any authority to tell me to do that. I'm not going to do it. So it was blatantly obvious at that point that the gentleman that I had worked with on a bipartisan basis for the previous 2 years had just lied to me.
Wow. And that also prompted you to attend the TCF Center on November 2020. What did you see?
I decided to, election night, November 2020, got down to TCF Center about 9 p.m., got there after polls closed. I signed up as a challenger because I needed to get in the room, but understanding as a canvasser, I have no, it's against the law for me to challenge. I'm just there as an observer. So I got there at 9 p.m. I saw the ballots being counted. There was a truck being unloaded around 9 o'clock. There was an announcement that they had about 129,000 ballots already counted. Big round of applause. They're doing a great job. Things were calm at that point. There were Republican challengers there. There were some people that I didn't recognize, so I'm assuming they were independents or Democrats challengers there. Everything was calm. Around 11 o'clock, they were done counting the ballots that were there. The election inspectors were at that point reading books, playing on their phones, taking naps, because there was a long pause after 11 p.m. There were no more ballots. I was walking around looking for someone in charge to call the clerk's office. I was like, wow, are we done by midnight? Is this a world, a Detroit record? I was ready to cheer him on. And around 2 a.m., there was someone who made a phone call, got a hold of Chris Thomas, and found out there was one more delivery of ballots that would be arriving. That phone call was made around 2 a.m. So we've gone from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. with 134 counting boards, 5 election inspectors, 600 people sitting around doing nothing, getting paid by tax dollars. And then a truck shows up 3:30ish.
But prior to the truck showing up, President Trump had a significant lead, did he not?
That's what my phone was showing from the Secretary of State's website. Yeah.
Trump was up by a lot. And how many ballots came in the middle of the night, around 2 or 3?
It had to be around 30,000, because at 9 p.m. we had 129,000 counted. They were counting another delivery. and there were only 167,000 ballots counted at TCF Center. So it could.
So that's not enough to make up the margin of victory.
It's not.
So were there other counties that also had midnight ballot drops?
I'm really not sure, because my focus has solely been there
That's
was a lot to
interesting, 'cause
unpack.
That's not enough to change the margin of victory.
It's not.
Well, Monica Palmer, thank you so much for your time today and for giving us the details of the crazy events of 2020 in Wayne County.
My pleasure. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to come back.
Thank you.